what people could do to maintain or enhance their cognitive ability as they age, because your cognitive ability declines, is exercise. There's nothing better than physical exercise. Cognitive exercises, they don't work. They don't make you any smarter. But exercise, physical, cardiovascular and weightlifting, improves your cardiovascular fitness, and that keeps your brain healthy, and that keeps you from degenerating as you age. And at 50, you can revert your cognitive ability back to 30-year-old levels with a good course of exercise. So that was interesting. But then the other thing we found, two things, was that writing seemed to help people. And writing about past difficult experiences, traumas, to use a word that's been beat to death, past traumatic experience, writing diligently about past, or even badly for that matter, merely writing about past traumatic experiences seemed to be a little distressing in the short run, 2 weeks or so, but beneficial physically and psychologically 3 to 6 months down the road. And there was 30 research articles indicating that.
How did you measure that?
The physical improvements were measured by number of times people went to visit the physician, and then the psychological measures were various measures of mental health, mostly susceptibility to depression and anxiety. And so imagine that you can detect a traumatic memory by reviewing your autobiography and noting that you have memories that are older than 18 months, there's a reason for that, older than 18 months, that still cause you emotional distress when they appear in the theater of your imagination. And so what that means is your brain has marked the territory that's represented by those memories as dangerous. And that's what the anxiety system does. And your brain doesn't like noticing that you've been in places that you couldn't master. So it marks those as potential trouble. And the marking is the remnant emotional significance of the memory. Danger here, danger here. Those obsessive, recurring, anxiety-provoking memories is an alarm system in your brain saying, you might go here again, you might go here again, beware,
so
beware.
It's your old self telling you in the present that there's danger.
That there's still danger, because
right. Even though there isn't.
Well, there may still be.
But there may not be.
Well, there
won't
won't
be.
Happens. There won't be if you don't go there. Yeah. But you had been there, and that means you might be there again. And so what your emotional systems want to see is that you've mastered all the territories that you've encountered. And mastery means that when you go somewhere...
You've matured?
Partly that you've developed the requisite competence to navigate through that landscape. And it's a navigation problem. So that you have a map that will guide you in that territory without trouble on your part. And all the places you've been where there are pitfalls are marked in your memory by remaining negative emotion. And that actually causes chronic stress. So imagine that one of the things your body tries to do, your emotional systems, is to calculate the proportion of territory that you've been in that's dangerous compared to productive and safe. Okay, the more it's productive and safe, the less stress you carry, because your psychophysiological self assumes safety, and it lets you dispense with emergency preparation. But if everywhere you've gone there's been trouble, then you're like this all the time. And that makes you old. And the reason it makes you old is because it's too physiologically demanding. You're burning up excess resources all the time, being ready for the next catastrophe. And so if your past is full of unresolved traumas, and we'll get to what that means, then your psychophysiological self and your emotional systems are going to assume that the environment is dangerous, and they're going to keep you in a state of chronic hyperpreparation. Now, if you go back to those old memories and you plot a new course, like let's say you were bullied when you were a kid, right? And so you're still leery of people in some fundamental sense. But maybe you don't have to be, because let's say, well, when I was a kid, for example, I didn't get bullied a lot, but everybody does to some degree. And so what did I get bullied about? Well, I was small.
You were young.
And I was young for my age, young for my grade, because I had skipped a grade, and I was small despite that. And I was less athletically able because I was smaller and younger. And so when I ran into bullies, those were the aspects of my being that they would capitalize on. And so, but now I'm not like that. I'm not young for my grade. I'm not small, and I'm as athletic as I need to be. So carrying that is not helpful because I've actually solved the problems that produced those experiences. And that's what your brain wants to see, your psychophysiological self. It wants to see that you've solved the problem. Now, so if you go back and you think, well, I'm still scared of people. Well, why am I scared of people? Well, because when I was young, here are the limitations I had, but I no longer have those limitations and none of those dangers exist, and now I've thought that through. Now you have a map of that territory, eh? That's hippocampally instantiated, by the way. That's the part of the brain that inhibits the amygdala, which is an emotion center. And now the brain can say, okay, we'll just shut off the residual hyper-preparation associated with that danger. So you go back through your whole past, eh? And you figure out where the pitfalls were, and then you see as an adult if you generated new strategies of representation and navigation that would enable you to bypass those problems in the present and the future.